collecting books?
It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always enjoyed looking around other people's second-hand bookstores, and it's sort of a dream of mine that one day I would have one. So 3 years ago we decided to go for it, my husband and I, and we bought this business, and I'm really enjoying it.
What makes a book collectible or not, a good collectible or not so good a collectible?
There are standard collectibles. For instance, people like to collect Kennedy books and magazines, Marilyn Monroe books and magazines, that kind of thing. Some people get a fixation on a movie star, and they collect everything about, say, Sophia Loren, that kind of thing. The collectible itself has to be in good condition. People like them to be in good condition. And they will spend any amount to get the stuff that they really like.
How do you get the majority of your stock?
Some people bring them into us. They've been clearing out an old house, maybe belonging to an aunt who's died or something. They find this stuff in the basement, and they don't know what else to do with it, so they come to us, hoping that it will be worth something. Sometimes we actually go out, my husband and I, we go out to flea markets and garage sales even, that kind of thing. And everywhere. You'd be surprised where you find this stuff.
What was the first kind of book? Was it matter you just bought the business first, or you scouted out a location?
We needed a business that was within our budget. And this was advertised, and we went along to see it. And we really liked it because besides just having books, it also had the collectible magazines. We have collectible old postcards as well. And we thought the variety was rather nice.
So it wasn't an existing business before?
It was, yes.
Okay. Was it called Second Time?
Yes, Second Time Around Books, yes. It was on Young Street originally.
Oh, okay. And you've been at this location for 3 years?
For about 2 years at this location, yeah.
We were starting into your own business, and with maybe you can tell us some of the pitfalls or some,
I think it's probably a good idea to speak to someone who's already in the business. We didn't do that, so we had to sort of learn as we went along. But yes, there are all sorts of pitfalls, of course.
Any horror stories or good stories?
When you first take over a business like this, you want to be liked by all your customers, so you tend to buy everything that they bring in. All of a sudden you find you're not selling anything, you're just buying, and you're buying rubbish, really, just to be a nice guy, you know.
And that had to stop?
That had to stop, yes, very soon. You realise you've just got to be very, very selective, very careful about what you buy.
What's the most interesting thing you've come across, or what you felt was the most collectible in the 3 years that you thought was a real treasure yourself, and I don't know if you've held on to it or...
Let's see now. We had I don't know if you know Patricia Cornwell, she's a mystery writer. A book of hers came in, and I knew that it would be not the run-of-the-mill Patricia Cornwell, because the name was written Patricia Daniels Cornwell. It was one of her earliest ones. But I didn't have any way of knowing its value. Luckily I have some friends who are dealers, and I phoned one of these, and he told me it was worth quite a bit of money. I was quite excited, because usually the books that come in here are worth about $10, you know. This was several hundred.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How do you go about determining a value? Is there like a book? You know, I know with used cars you have like a black book, and you can
That's
say,
right.
okay, 1980
Yes.
Toyota
Yes.
is X amount of dollars.
Yes.
Is there such a book?
There are price guides. Yes, we have several down here that we refer to occasionally. But of course they go out of date very quickly. So it's always nice to be in contact with other dealers who have been in the business a long time.
So with used cars, there's such thing as called a black book, where you can determine the value of a car. And is there such a thing with used collectible books?
Yes, we do have several price guides. Actually, we've got a few down here, such as this one. This will give you the names of the authors and their more collectible books. And you can look up the price. It's right here. Of course, they do go out of date very quickly, so it's always best to check before you price a book.
But the books, do they generally tend to go up in price, or is there something that I don't know, saying how in fashion some things are fashionable, then they're not so fashionable? Is it?
That's right. Things do go in and out of fashion. You're quite right. But generally speaking, they will increase in value, especially if they're in really good condition, and it's even better if they're signed.
Oh, okay. For example, does that if the author has signed it?
That's right.
That makes for a more valuable
Exactly.
collection?
Yes, it does. Yes, it's always very exciting when you find a signed copy of something.
What's the oldest book that you had in the store?
The oldest book. We don't tend to have very many old books here, but I guess about 1888, something like that.
Is that right? And who was that movie?
That was probably a Dickens, not a first edition, obviously,
okay.
but just a Dickens edition.
What would something like that be worth?
If it was in very good condition, it might be worth $50. They're not as worth as much as you think, the Dickens, because there were so many of them.
So one thing I noticed in the store, you've got this wonderful life collection. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about it, and basically how you got it started, and some of your more interesting pieces in it.
This was something that we really liked when we first bought the store, and we've been increasing it ever since, because people go for lives in a big way. Not only do they like the famous people on the covers, like Joe DiMaggio or the Queen, Marilyn Monroe or the Kennedys, but they like to buy them for birthday presents. For instance, if somebody had been born June the 10th, 1946, this would be a wonderful present to give someone, because they can flip through and see what was happening the day they were born, the week they were born. And we sell a lot for presents, for birthdays, anniversaries, things like that.
Now, is there anything that you have to do to preserve a book so that it doesn't actually decay over years? Because it is a paper product. I noticed
you've
got the plastic covers for the life, but is there anything you can do, like, I don't know, keep it in a cold room or something like that? I don't know.
It should be kept out of a damp place, definitely. Damp just ruins anything, ruins magazines, books, anything to do with paper.